Well, this is how to be a writer of fantasy. Um, I kind of like fantasy, but there's a lot of things about fantasy which I don't like, and particularly like just magic, and especially these chosen one. You are the chosen one type stories, and that's um, to me that's just annoying. That okay, so now we automatically know where the story's going to go, which is yeah, it's cool. It's all right, but that's too easy. Especially for the writer. It's too easy, and um, I would rather see like with George R. R. Martin or Glenn Cook, you know, these ideas that okay, I don't really know what's going to happen, and in fact, even in the Glenn Cook's the Black Company uh, stories, the sometimes even the narrator, it's like oh my goodness, what's going to happen? So the narrator changes up and this and that. What I've been looking at a lot of other people's works and fantasies and or fantasy stories, and I'm noticing a trend, and that trend is the opening of the stories. It's like you're cramming an encyclopedia worth of knowledge into the stories, and a lot of times it's like it's really hard, for me as a reader, and I'm sure as others, like just to get into it because it's like what you're giving me so much information I have to wrap my head around just to grasp this world and concept. And I'm thinking that for my next piece of work, what I'm going to try is I think I'll do that. I'm just going to write out like descriptions of nations and for yourself as an example, go to the CIA World Fact Book or uh, what is it called? The CIA World. Well, I'll find the website, but it's got it basically categorizes all the information about every nation in the world. It tells you like a little bit of its history, but more of like the population, the demographics of the population, important factors about just the people there, the religion, um, you know what type of economies are available, what type of crime goes on there. And I'm thinking that yeah, what I'm going to do, or what I'll think about doing is just do that, like write out each nation, give it some history, and so that's going to be at the front of the book or at the back of the book, and so that way the reader, if they really want that detail, and this is kind of my thing too, because like I'm big into details, and especially maps, which is why I need somebody to do maps for me because I just don't have that skill, that quality, and I would like somebody that really knows geography, and how to create and focus on stuff like that. But um, you know what I what I'm and what I notice too is that it's all these terms and concepts, and sometimes it's like there's a lot of explanation needs to be added to it, because you want to create this other world, this other idea and concept, and that's cool and all, but it's like I said, just trying to wrap my head around it, and how do you explain something that should be day to day for the characters, but for the people reading. So I think that's where like the idea of just having this you know sort of encyclopedia type of knowledge would really work out. Um, Raymond Feist has included in his work now, or some of his later works, not quite bibliography, but a cast of characters, for minor characters, this and that. That works out. In the case of George R. R. Martin, the rear of his book, the rears of his Song of Fire and Ice, or the end of the Song of Fire and Ice books, um, are just filled with all the the houses, the different groups of people, and who's part of the families, their servants, and different associations, affiliations. That's a really great way to go, and I think that's probably something I may need to embrace as well. But because of all of this information, which you as a writer are dealing with, and you want to give to your reader, it gets in the way of the story, in my opinion. So I think that's what you need to do. Is think about as a writer is how much do I want to just drag down the reader, or do I want to annoy the reader, and having to take in all this information and incorporate it, and keep it in their mind, and at the same time at points it gets to, there's interactions, there's things going on, and it's like, all right, is this important? Is this necessary? Does this add to the story? Does this make things interesting? Do I as a reader want to read this? Do I as a writer want to write this stuff down? Um, so for this one piece of work I did, the Gang of Daggers, I thought, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go for a total immersion experience. This is You're just going to see what you see. You're going to hear what is said. Uh, Whatever's in the background, whatever is not being talked about, that's up to the reader to decide. And I think that is a real neat concept that it plays out because one of the the characters learn mind control, and so you're going to see them in interactions, and you're always going to wonder like, are they using mind control? And at times it'll be real subtle, and at other times it's going to be a bit more direct, more upfront that yeah, these characters are doing this or that. Um, but at the same time, I'm not dragging. I'm not saying to the reader, here's all the stuff you need to be aware of. Here's all the stuff you need to focus on or concentrate on or keep in mind. It's like, no, whatever you want to take from the story, you're going to take. Whatever you want to assign to the characters, whatever sort of feelings you want to assign to the characters or qualities and traits, you as a reader can do that. And that can be good and bad. Because ideally I want I know that people will read the work and they'll be like, okay, well I would like to think of myself as this character. So I'm trying to get that, but I had one critic who said, you know, I would like more information, more background information about the characters, more of their personalities. Um, and that's where the hard part comes in, because I have three main characters, and you know, they're basically kind of aspects of me in a way, or but which the way I'm trying to write them, so that way it's like, okay, well, this is me as this kind of guy, this is me as this kind of guy, this is me as that kind of guy, and but also trying to incorporate and make them separate, and make them interact, and not be of a uniform opinion. Um, but as time goes on, you kind of wonder and think, well, wait a minute, are they of the same, are they of different opinions? Are they of the same opinion? Are they, forcing each other into these opinions, kind of thing. Um, but the, just the thing to remember is that drama and tension is what's going to, make the story interesting. The other thing is that don't have invincible characters. Don't have characters who, they're flawless, or don't have characters that oh, well, they're really good, they can do this and that, kind of thing, and that's it. Basically, a really good story is the character is going to grow. The character is going to have a challenge. It's always going to be facing a challenge. That is more interesting to read about. Because then it's like, okay, so it's this struggle, now it's this struggle, now this struggle. Whereas if the character is super powerful, it's like, okay, they just walk in, squash, now what? What's going on, So you want the character to grow. You want the character to grow before the reader's eyes, in my opinion. And that's, makes it interesting. That makes, that's what people will like to see, how will the guy grow? What sort of decisions will the character make, as they're going through this growth process. um, and then on top of that, you don't want to give enemies. You don't want to have enemies that are all powerful, because then it's like, oh, well, gee, how can they win? And like, oh, duh, of course, this simple little thing. That's just, it takes it out of, or it kind of ruins it for me. This idea that, oh, well, they just had one little weakness, and you exploit that. Okay, all right. It's like, no, make the weakness just, give everybody their own, strengths and weaknesses, and then, then you have them interact, and then, based off of their strengths and weaknesses, that's going to be the outcome. So that's about all I can think of right now.